Did you know that YouTubers are on strike today? Either that or my internet doesn't work. ReZero storytelling is smarter than you think. In fact, its biggest twist is right in front of us, and the author is relying on you, watching isekai anime, to not notice it. What do all these words mean? Well, if I could answer that in one sentence, I wouldn't have made this video. This isn't your first time on YouTube. You know that the title is a teaser of the thesis. I can't just name this My ReZero Theory. It doesn't work. Either way, spoiler warning for ReZero seasons 1 through 3. Restarting life in another world from zero, ReZero for short, is the story of Subaru Natsuki being transported to a fantasy world where he can use his suffering to power an undo button. It is part of a collection of anime and manga whose names all start with Re, and you cannot convince me they're not connected. I'm waiting for someone to write a fanfic to tie all these series together, or at least tell me what they're all regarding. The original web novel is written by Tape Nagatsuki. It's currently the number 23 most popular anime on my anime list, and the number 1 most popular book under Amazon's category for books with main characters named after car companies. The anime has 3 seasons, which covers the first 5 arcs, about 25 volumes total. The books are currently in the middle of arc 8, and the author estimated there'd be about 12 arcs total, so quick math, only 8 more years until we know whether this video is right. And what the One Piece is, then climate change can kill us or whatever.
Polar bear. No! Polar bears are dying. The ice caps are melting.
ReZero is an isekai, a type of fantasy series where the main character is taken from Earth to another reality to start a new life. This genre is usually notorious for its cookie-cutter characters and plots. Like, even the shallow gimmicks used to differentiate most of these series are completely saturated. For example, there's not 1, but 2 series whose gimmick is that the main character opens a pharmacy after moving realities. Here's 2 more series about a main character who goes to another world, but gets to keep his smartphone. One of them has a solar-powered smartphone, and it would honestly be more believable if it just magically kept a charge. But, despite the baggage of its genre, ReZero is still highly regarded as a series. Thanks to its writing, world building, and the way it crafts mysteries, it's considered the top of the line in its class. Like the Subaru Outback. Okay, I'll stop. Unlike most of these shows, the main character Subaru isn't overpowered or even regular powered. The author puts him through absolutely brutal situations with seemingly no escape in the character's pursuit of a better outcome. It's so intense, it's actually a meme how much the series makes him suffer. And to be clear, it's a great show. While season 1 is pretty good, season 2 onwards introduces lore and mysteries and foreshadowing that elevates it to a new level. The author really makes you feel like you're in the middle of this enigmatic grand narrative with truly powerful payoffs in the works if you're willing to wait the aforementioned 8 years. And every time I attempt to unpack it with others, I feel it turning into that conspiracy board scene from Always Sunny.
Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Eventually, however, these discussions led me to a set of revelations. Clever writing done by Nagatsuki to ensure we all overlook certain moments until we learn the truth, rewatch it, and go, oh, obviously, duh. And it all points towards one theory. A theory I'm going to try to explain to you. Now, the process of trying to answer some of the big questions in ReZero feels like doing a scavenger hunt where all the items are maps to other scavenger hunts. So there's going to be some gaps. I'm going to start with the basics, introduce some key writing ideas that the author is doing, then apply those writing ideas to ReZero's story to suss out the truth. Then near the end, we can speculate to fill in whatever gaps are left. And look, you and I both know that there's no absolute certainty that this video is right. The series is ongoing and the author won't respond to my texts. But I'll tell you this. I once saw a Reddit comment that perfectly predicted the 2 biggest twists that would happen in season 3 of Attack on Titan over a year in advance of the manga revealing it. It also had 0 upvotes and no replies, but I read that and immediately got the sinking feeling like, oh fuck, that's it. It felt so close to an actual spoiler, part of me is still convinced it was just Attack on Titan's author on an alt account fucking with me. Sometimes you just know when something makes sense for a story, and when I stumbled upon the key insights in this video, it gave me the same feeling. Maybe I'm Nagatsuki. I also don't know how common a theory this is. I'm hesitant to look it up because I don't want my reasoning clouded by other people's insights. Even if this is a thing fans already suspect, I'm pretty confident that my approach and reasoning is different, so at the very least I'll add to the evidence. Okay, light novel readers? By the way, regarding the spoiler warning, there's some dialogue in the light novel that was cut from the season 2 anime, which I will be bringing up later on. Maybe it was cut due to time reasons, or maybe the author felt like it gave too big of a hint. I want to push back on that because A, we're like 70 episodes in. Even Attack on Titan showed us what was in the basement by then. And B, you're now creating an even bigger rift between your light novel readers and your anime watchers. For what? You gotta trust the journey you constructed for your audience. Do you guys remember that chapter of Berserk where Griffith, the main antagonist, meets God? One of the best chapters in the entire series? What? You don't? Maybe it's because the author decided, it reveals too much of the world too soon. So it got pulled from future releases, none of it got mentioned for 15 years, and then the author died. That's what happens when you don't let yourself follow the flow of your art. Nagatsuki, if you're listening, stop fighting the waves. Also, blink twice if Otto is a furry. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over the arcs to identify the plot points that I want to focus on. If you've never seen the show, this should be enough for you to understand the rest of the video. So, we have our main character, 17-year-old Subaru Natsuki. He's currently not in school and has no job. One evening, he's buying snacks at a convenience store because DoorDash wasn't in Japan yet. Then, on his way home, the scenery instantly changes around him, and he finds himself in a fantasy world known as Lagunica. This catches him by surprise, but his isekai poisoned brain accurately concludes that he's no longer on Earth.
So does this mean I've been summoned across the universe to another world?
Like I said, this is an isekai. The inciting incident is Subaru going to another world. Even the main character has seen enough anime to know the gist. However, something kind of strange has already happened here. Usually in isekais... Isekai?
The plural of Pokemon is Pokemon.
Usually in isekai, the method of transportation to the other world is being killed and reincarnated. Half the time it's getting hit by a truck. Sometimes a truck even finds you. Maybe a goddess or spirit finds you while you're alive and pulls you into their realm. But here, it's none of those things. It just happens all of a sudden. One moment he's on Earth, the next he's in Lagunica. Is my pirated copy of episode 1 missing a scene? Did I get King Crimsoned? Put a pin in that. Anyway, he's a fish out of water in this place. Thankfully, he is able to speak the language with some minor tweaks.
So are these
Apples, the freshest you'll find.
Parmesan. Parmesan.
Yes, I'm using the English dub. Or maybe you've just gotten so good at Japanese that it feels like English to you. Then, while passing his time exploring the city and getting mugged, he lays his eyes on the female lead of this story, a silver-haired half-elf named Emilia. He's immediately love-struck. Put a pin in that. So Subaru cancels his getting mugged plans to help her with looking for her badge that got stolen. It's not important. He learns that some people hate Emilia because there's a dangerous, powerful witch called Satella, the Witch of Envy. This witch destroyed half the world 400 years ago until she was sealed away. Satella is also a silver-haired half-elf. I mean, that's a pretty broad description. I'm sure she looks a little different. Put a pin in that. After some more exposition, their search takes them to a loot house where they both get stabbed and die. That's how the show ends. It's a pretty good series. Oh, I need to scroll down on this. Right as Subaru dies, he time travels back to earlier that day, before he met Emilia. All of his memories are intact. He realizes that every time he dies, he goes back to that same point in time. He coins this ability, Return by Death.
I return to my initial state. I'll call it Return by Death.
And he uses what he's learned from the last few attempts to finally defeat the tutorial boss and get the real story started. It's heavily implied and later confirmed that the witch, Satella, gave him this ability.
Don't you get it? You're the one who made me like this in the first place!
This is how each arc shakes out, more or less. He's stuck in a death loop of some kind with nothing but the ability to reset to some fixed save point upon dying. And he uses that information to resolve the circumstances causing the bad thing. Like I said, suffering powered undo button. There's a few limitations on this too. He's physically unable to tell people about this ability, and he can't control what the fixed point is or when it updates. This is kind of interesting, right? Because he starts out with 0 noteworthy abilities aside from this. In a world with incredibly powerful magic users, witches, knights, and furries, he's just a guy. He's just a little guy. Think about it. You can't fire a wall of ice crystals. You can barely do a push-up. So you need to find the words you can say to people and the actions you can do with your shitty little human body to get out of a situation caused by beings and forces far beyond your comprehension. Each arc is a puzzle with a board the size of Westeros, and you get unlimited retries to save yourself and the ones you care about, as long as you're willing to, die in increasingly horrific ways. And who are the people he cares about in this story? To name a few, there's not Satella, Pa Shisaka, she's actually 400 years old, and Demon Twins, Ram and... I don't remember who this character is. Okay, so what are these arcs? Well, arc 1 is the one we just talked about. It ends with him gaining Emilia's trust, who as it turns out is royalty. She even lets him work in her castle. I guess people hire undocumented immigrants for manual labor in this world too. In Arc 2, he meets a lot of the supporting cast while working as a butler in the castle. Although they don't trust him at first, he eventually wins them over after saving children in the nearby village who were kidnapped by demon beasts. one of the twins, Rem, ends up falling in love with him after he risks his life for her. Also, he learns how to ink himself. In terms of lore, we learn that there were once 7 witches, one named after each deadly sin, but Satella, the Witch of Envy, killed the other 6. Each witch also has an archbishop, and they seem to all still be alive, but it's probably fine. In Arc 3, they're trying to determine who the next queen should be. Emilia is a candidate, and in Subaru's desire to be her knight, he literally white knights her when the other candidates insult her. Emilia tries to tell him that he committed cringe, but he says the real cringe is how she doesn't stand him the way he stands her. I shouldn't be allowed to write. So he and Rem stay behind in the capital, only to discover that this arc's death loop involves everyone in Emilia's village, including Emilia, being slaughtered by the witches' cult.
No. Petra. Petra, no!
The cult is led by the Sin Archbishop of Sloth, Beetlejuice. He has an invisible hands ability, which Subaru is, for some reason, able to see. This arc is where you really begin to see where the suffering meme for the show comes from. Subaru spends the whole next loop catatonic from the shock of the murders, causing him and Rem to be captured by the witches' cult.
There's nothing any of us can do to help him. His wounds are one thing, but there's no helping his mental state. Get away! Don't you touch him! Subaru!
Why are you running?
Beetlejuice confronts Subaru and accuses him of faking his mental state.
Why do you pretend that your mind is broken? To behave so cleverly and quietly as if seeking sympathy for your situation, it is a demeaning insult to true madness.
It's just, he's clearly been through a lot. This isn't Subaru doing a bit. This is his brain disassociating from reality because he can't handle it. I'm sorry if that doesn't meet your conventional insanity standards. Look at him!
How comical! How completely comical!
At this moment in the show, I don't care if he can reset time. I am terrified for him. It's only made worse when Rem tries to save him. Despite the strength of her love and her drive to protect him, she's just not strong enough. The cult murders her by twisting her limbs and head with magic, like she's a ragdoll. It's sickening to watch, and it turns Subaru's despondent state into an unbridled fury towards Beetlejuice.
I'll kill you, you son of a bitch! Die!
But it does nothing. He's left there, alone and powerless. And just when you think it's over, Subaru then sees Rem using the last of her life to drag her twisted body towards him. She frees his chains, begging him to please live before she dies in his arms.
Please, stay alive.
Rem, wait. No.
I love you.
I'm spending so much time on this scene because it's not only one of the most harrowing in all of ReZero, but it's probably the biggest reason why there are so many fans of this character, Rem. Even now, when I was skimming Arc 3 just to make sure the script was right, I rewatched the scene and I teared up almost instinctively. It's not often you see such a heartbreaking depiction of love and devotion from a character. You'd want their love to be reciprocated and for them to be happy, right? Right? After dying and failing one additional time, this time by fruitlessly asking the other royal selection candidates for help, Subaru finally breaks down in front of Rem. He opens up about how powerless and worthless he feels, how his goal seems insurmountable, and Rem answers with what is probably one of the best love confessions / motivational speeches in modern anime.
So why do you even care about me?
Because you're my hero, Subaru. When you don't even believe in yourself and you think that you can't go on, I will still believe in you.
She reminds him of his best, most heroic traits, and why they're the reason why she feels alive again. It's why she loves him so much. The entire episode is just their conversation, him baring his soul to her, and her replying with such warmth, love, and support that it washes away the pain of the last few attempts and gives him the resolve to try again. She doesn't even know what he's been through, and she still restores him. She probably restored some of you.
No matter how you feel about yourself, I still love you.
And what does Subaru say in response to this amazing declaration of love?
Emilia is the one I love.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
If you weren't around when this episode first aired, you have no idea how angry the internet got when this happened.
Friendship over.
Friendship over!
Why would Subaru neglect someone who he's had such a strong relationship with in favor of someone who he seemingly barely knows? No, seriously, why? This is foreshadow. Just put a pin in that. Anyway, he figures it out and beats Beetlejuice. The rest of the arc doesn't matter for this video. Sorry if you got invested. In Arc 4, we really start to see the lore of this world unfolding. He meets the spirit of the Witch of Greed, Echidna, and has some tea with her. Echidna reveals that he's actually bound by a magic contract with someone. He was not aware of this. Guess what you're putting in that? That's right, a pin. Also, Roswaal, the lord of Emilia's castle, got a magic book that Echidna gave him a long time ago. And this book tells him the future of the realm and gives him instructions based on that. Ram ends up destroying this book. This isn't really related to the rest of the video. I just think it's funny that Roswaal is basically an in-universe light novel reader. Sorry, Roswaal, you're an anime only now. Then, during a scene known as the Witch's Tea Party, Subaru finally meets Satella, the Witch of Envy. As they talk, the way she behaves towards him is striking.
For so very long now, I've been deeply in love with you, and nobody else. I love you. I have loved you, only you, for such a very, very long time.
She's obviously in love with him, deeply in love with him, obsessed with him, which he doesn't reciprocate. But looking at Satella's behavior, this isn't, I took an interest in this boy because he may be the chosen one kind of love. This is, you saved me, you gave me light kind of love. Literally. Put a gigantic pin in that. So they talk and she gives him some practical advice.
All the pain, all the torment, everything! It only happens to me!
Please don't be hurt now, and please don't suffer.
Why didn't I think of that?
He throws an existential tantrum, but finally he's like, can I keep using Return by Death? And she's like, yeah, I wasn't going to take it away. Before they part, we find out that she does indeed look exactly like Emilia. She claims that he needs to keep his promise to kill her someday, and he vows to save her. What does it mean? If only there was a video that could... Later on, Emilia goes through some magic trials to explore her past and future. In the first trial, we find out that Emilia was raised by her aunt, Mother Fortuna. Turns out, Beetlejuice used to be sane until he absorbed a witch factor that gave him his invisible hands ability. Then he accidentally killed his love, Mother Fortuna, causing him to go crazy. A witch factor is basically something provided by a witch that grants you an ability. What you need to keep in mind is this whole being exposed to it is a double-edged sword that can make you snap if you're under too much stress thing. In the third trial, Emilia sees some potential futures. It's basically 2 minutes of foreshadowing that the author is channeling directly into our brains. Finally, Arc 5 is where Subaru and Emilia have to fight the Sin Archbishop of Greed, known as Regulus. Interesting name, right? Put one last pin in that. Is someone counting the pins? Okay, no joke. I finished writing out the script for this section, and only during a later section realized that I totally forgot to mention the plot beat where Rem is put into a coma and erased from everyone's memories. The irony is not lost on me. Right at the start of Arc 4, she fights with the Archbishop of Gluttony, who eats people's identities, making the entire world forget she exists and putting her in a state of coma-like suspended animation. Subaru is unaffected by this collective amnesia of Rem, maybe because of Return by Death? Either way, no one else remembers her. It's gaslighting on a cosmic level.
Subaru, I'm confused. Who is Rem?
What? The thing is, as powerful a plot point and potential motivator this is, the author does nothing with it for at least 2 arcs. Arc 5 literally starts with, a year has gone by. Rem is still in a coma. But I've been working out. Side note, what would happen if Subaru was made comatose by gluttony? Would that be a counter to Return by Death? It's not the same as dying. Would Satella forget about him? Would he just be stuck? Hey Siri, text Nagatsuki. Whew, all right. Everyone caught up? Let's talk about plot twists.
All right, we need a plan. I say we just lie low and hope that they don't notice me.
Look, there's a pop filter now. I can finally prove my proficiency with powerful prose properly. Fun fact, the entire last section didn't use the letter P even once. What is a plot twist? I'd give you the definition, but my internet doesn't work. Here's what I do know though. Writing a plot twist is hard. A lot of the good ones have already been taken, and modern audiences are way too attentive. A good plot twist requires foreshadowing. It has to be surprising yet inevitable. It has to recontextualize the story without derailing it. Maybe the audience made incorrect assumptions, or maybe they overlooked a key detail. I win. But, as a writer, every bit of groundwork you set up for your twist might remind viewers of how a similar twist from a different show was hinted at. Or worse, it'll be discussed and dissected in that episode's Reddit thread where it can be upvoted and seen by everyone forever. On the other hand, if you leave too few breadcrumbs, then the twist feels like it's coming out of nowhere. Picture this. You're nearing the end of a generic romance movie starring the guy from Twilight, and out of nowhere, the last scene happens and you go, what the fuck do you mean he dies in 9/11? It seems like there's just no winning, just a trade-off between how earned your twist is and how unpredictable it is. But what if there is an easier way to hide your clues? What if you can stop the audience from thinking too hard about the hints you're dropping? Am I about to give an answer? Is 3 rhetorical questions good, or is 4 better? The answer is to use tropes. A trope in media is just a common character type, situation, plot beat, or theme between stories. Stuff like having a chosen one, a big bad, plots where people switch bodies, a scene where a character has to figure out who the clone is, anything. If there's a pattern in media, someone's picked up on it.
Ah, so it's the old twins who are good at different things trope, huh?
There's a gigantic list of these on the website TV Tropes, which is a great way to waste an afternoon and then ruin your ability to watch TV normally for like a month. To be clear, these are different from cliches. Cliches are tropes that have been overused to the point that they don't add anything to the story that they're a part of. When a story does a cliche, you feel the artifice of the author lazily copy-pasting a jaded meme into their story instead of rubbing 2 brain cells together. How do we introduce a funny yet sultry scene into this rom-com? How about a scene where the main character walks in on one of the girls while she's changing, making her freak out and call him a pervert? I want to die. But in general, tropes are just commonalities in stories, and audiences being familiar with so many of them is useful. It stops them from thinking too hard about the minutiae of your story, and lets them focus on the ways that you're making it unique. Although, if you're really clever, you can use this to help hide your foreshadowing. Some of the most effective plot twists that I've seen in recent media rely on your understanding of the tropes for a genre to lull you into a false sense of security. The Good Place, as an example, does this brilliantly, but I can't say how without getting into spoilers. So skip to this timestamp if you haven't seen season 1 of it yet. I'm even going to wait a little bit because you deserve to not have this spoiled, believe me. Okay, here we go. So, we spend an entire season thinking that the setting of The Good Place is, well, the good place. Heaven. But as it turns out, our main characters were in hell the entire time. But they were told this was heaven to put them in situations where the demons torturing them can fork with them better. I mean, fuck with them better.
Why can't I say fork?
In a vacuum, this doesn't seem like a particularly hard-to-guess twist. Oh, it's The Good Place? What if it's not The Good Place?
This is big brain time.
And yet, it got me, my friend who's seen about 1 billion TV shows, my girlfriend who's a television writer, my sister who nitpicks every out-of-place plot beat. I know almost no one who actually saw it coming. And as you know, the plural of anecdote is data.
Jason figured it out? Jason?
But seriously though, it's a common sentiment you see online. And, in my opinion, the biggest contributor to this is how The Good Place relies on what the audience expects a comedy to be. A single person who doesn't belong in heaven is a great comedic premise, so you don't think so hard about how or even if such a mistake could ever be made. The stressful and tortuous situations the characters are put in are funny to a spectator, not horrific. We watch Eleanor and Chidi being forced to room with a couple who just so happen to have the perfect qualifications to suss out that they're not really soulmates. And we laugh, because shows like Community and 30 Rock love doing contrived coincidences or implausible situations for the sake of a gag. And it is funny. We just didn't know the demons were laughing too. Even the fact that the 2 supposedly good characters, Chidi and Tahani, are clearly flawed individuals that shouldn't be in heaven is obscured when viewed through a comedy lens. Throughout season 1, they just seem like humorous exaggerations of what a good person is supposed to be. Take Chidi for example. Oh yeah, Chidi studied philosophy his whole life. He would understand morality better than anyone, and it's very clear he wants to do the right thing. It's just funny how this lands him in situations where he's indecisive and drives people crazy over it. I probably would too if I was so worried about making the right choice. The comedic parts of them are the flaws you should have noticed. I should have noticed. Flaws that seem obvious when I rewatch it. Even Michael, the demon who's fucking with them. fucking with them. The show portrays him as an underdog rookie who's barely holding it all together. It's your archetypal comedic good guy, doing his best while dealing with his first neighborhood, having problems that are way out of his depth. He's not creating these bad situations. He's afflicted with them, right? If you were also fooled by the show, ask yourself, if the show was a drama, would you have been more likely to figure it out? I think most people would answer yes. All of a sudden, the hints the show gives us no longer have a comedic explanation. The contrived coincidence of a couples therapist and a private investigator being coupled up with Eleanor and Chidi sticks out like a sore thumb. Your observant mind is way more likely to ask, in what situation would a good guy ever kick a puppy into the sun? These are all moments that are perfect for recontextualization after the twist happens, but they raise almost no eyebrows during your first watch because they just seem like funny moments. Okay, if you skip to this point to avoid spoilers, welcome back. Ignore the thing about a puppy getting kicked into the sun.
It is merely a construct of a dog. It feels no pain or joy or love.
Nobody should feel sad at all.
Here's the gist of what I'm trying to say. Some plot twists use the fact that the audience will underthink or even ignore certain aspects of your story because the tropes common to the genre will provide a reasonable explanation for them. I'm going to call this phenomenon trope blinders. The trope is blinding you from observing and dissecting a story element the way you usually would. Okay, that was a lot of words, and none of them were about ReZero. It's okay, we're back now. Hey, how about a picture of Rem, your waifu, as a reward for how far you've made it? Here you go. I'm going to convince you that certain aspects of ReZero have a much more satisfying explanation if you remove the anime and isekai genre trope blinders and look at them more critically. Then we'll use that to see what revelations happen. But to do that convincingly, I need to show you that the author is actually thinking about this stuff, that he isn't just lazily falling back on common tropes, but deciding how to selectively distract his audience. To do that, I'm going to give an example where the author did use trope blinders to hide a reveal, one of my favorite moments in ReZero. So, like I said, there are 7 main witches in ReZero, one named after each deadly sin, and each witch has a sin archbishop, a sort of self-appointed second in command. Each one of them has a star name, like Beetlejuice or Regulus. If you've seen any anime in the past 100 years, you're like, oh yeah, 7 deadly sins, like Full Metal Alchemist, like Fairy Tail, like 7 deadly sins. Classic fun way of creating a group of characters. You can tie each sin to an archetype, the audience has another name for them, it's easier to keep track of, good stuff. Not every group is going to be as meticulously constructed as the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter, right? Check it out, 7 deadly sins, like the Bible, remember Jesus? Same thing with the star theme the archbishops have. A lot of people probably wouldn't even pick up on Regulus, Beetlejuice, or Baden Kaitos being star names. But even if they did, they probably have the same, oh that's interesting, reaction. But in the climax of Arc 5, the naming scheme becomes relevant. At this point, Subaru has fought or otherwise encountered a few of these archbishops. He now has to fight Regulus, the Archbishop of Greed, and this guy is invincible. No matter how powerful the attack, it does literally 0 damage. He cannot be touched. MC Hammer is in his DMs. And in the midst of this crazy, seemingly unwinnable fight, something bizarre happens. Subaru notices how strange it is that all of the archbishops have star names. Not just that, he goes, I fought a guy named Beetlejuice, and his ability was a bunch of invisible hands. And the name Beetlejuice comes from an Arabic phrase which means the hand of Orion. And this guy is named Regulus, which comes from the phrase the heart of a lion. So what if the key to his ability is his heart? And he's right.
My planet needs me.
The main character noticed and leveraged the strange naming scheme? This is anime. The naming schemes are almost always used for flavor or style, not to actually inform the characters about the world. This is like if a protagonist looking for the villain only hunted down people who have distinct character designs, who don't look like background characters. Imagine someone in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure saying, that's a pretty wild outfit that guy's got. I think I found the stand user. Some things are just a property of the universe that's there to enhance the reader's experience. But at the same time, from a purely logical, in-story perspective, why wouldn't he recognize that all of these antagonists are named after stars in the fucking night sky?
Fly into the night sky!
How many anime have you seen where the characters are named after a theme for fun? They're all numbers, colors, whatever. But the author went 2 layers deeper, not just giving them a real meaning and how it ties into their respective characters. That's already good. But then letting the main character be observant of it. And then Subaru uses that information to win the fight in a way that's infinitely more satisfying than how he won others.
Regulus, お前の剣能の正体、それはそう言い換えてもいいぜ。肉体の時間を止める獅子の心臓。答え合わせは。
Holy moly. It's such a good turn of events. It's a powerful moment of not just world building, but like payoff for what's already been built. This is what good writing is. And when you dig into the implications, you realize that there's someone in-universe who's choosing the names. And they're at least a little omniscient, right? Because Beetlejuice was named that before he got his invisible hand's witch factor. So there's an architect of Lagunica? How are they connected? Do you see how I sound like Charlie from Always Sunny now?
And I knock on her door and I say, Carol! Carol, I gotta talk to you about Pepe!
Now, I can feel some of you typing your comment already. Adam, I actually noticed this right away. It's actually rudimentary astronomy at best, and I knew that Subaru would pick up on it. Yes, you're very smart. Your mind is unburdened by countless unremarkable anime, which differentiate people entirely by their hair color. If everyone was as smart as you, we wouldn't even need cars. We could travel everywhere purely by the power of our intelligence. Why don't you text your mom your comment instead? She'll be more impressed than me. For the rest of us laymen, the author constructed the names of the archbishops to seem like any other anime world-building element, only to make the twist where Subaru catches it and uses it to be that much more impactful. And this does everything a good twist is supposed to do, because it's our fault we didn't put enough thought into the elements of the world. I now have to question all of my assumptions. Maybe Puck will ask Subaru about the lease rates for a 2025 Outback.
I'll just take a quick break, then get back to work.
It's your first day and you're so pumped up!
Welcome to the all-new Subaru Outback.
So Nagatsuki is clearly capable of this type of writing. Let's finally re-examine some other moments in the series with our new tools in mind. Why is Subaru in love with Emilia? No, really, why is he in love with Emilia? A lot of people ask this to say that his character motivations are shallow, or that the writing is shoddy, but far fewer are actually trying to answer from a story perspective why it took a total of 1 interaction to permanently ignite his inner simp. Let's look at the scene where they first meet. You hear her voice first, then the show goes quiet. The camera does a slow pan before revealing her. She glows like an angel with wind dramatically blowing behind her. Then it cuts to Subaru's clearly awestruck face as the music swells. When she talks to him, he can't even look her in the eye for more than a few seconds. You've seen a variation of this moment 100 times. It's a pretty common trope. Love at first sight. Specifically, it's our protagonist falling for the female lead of the story, the first significant woman we see.
Your rescuer and the one who saved your life. And you are the heroine I saved from the clutches of evil.
And looking at other fantasy shows, especially isekai aimed at teenagers, this is super common. There's about 1 billion lesser shows in the same genre that pair up the main guy and girl without really giving a fuck why they're into one another. For God's sake, Sword Art Online had Asuna fall in love with Kirito because he was the first chill guy she ever saw in Aincrad.
I used to feel the same as you. Every night I'd cry myself to sleep. But then, I was walking along and I saw someone taking a nap in the shade. I was so mad. I told him he shouldn't waste his time like that. He said it'd be a waste to go into some dungeon on such a beautiful day. So I tried lying down too. And you know what? I slept like a baby. Even in a world like this, he was really living. Why'd I put on the nerve gear that day? So I could come here and meet him.
Life isn't so bad here.
0 effort. See me after class. So the main guy's got feelings for the main girl in our teenage fantasy story. This couldn't be more mundane if we tried. But let's remove the trope blinders and really think about this. Look at some of his actions. The way he looks at her, talks about her.
It's not that exciting to watch, is it?
Nothing's ever boring when I'm hanging around you, Mealy.
Instinctively defends her honor to the point of painful humiliation, endangers his life protecting her. She literally asks him why in this scene.
Why, Subaru?
'Cause I love you, Emilia.
Do his actions make any sense in the context of someone he just met? We're talking less than a day for Arc 1 and 6 days for Arc 2.
All those times I got hurt, all the pain I felt, all the fighting with my life on the line. And my reward was her name and a single smile.
This isn't horny teenager behavior. Are we just to accept the story's surface level explanation that this is how Subaru might feel about the first girl with long hair and a vaguely symmetric face who speaks nicely to him? The long hair thing is true, by the way. If there's an anime love triangle involving a short-haired girl and a long-haired girl, never bet on short hair. I call it the long-haired hypothesis. Take that, Archibald. Imagine how much weirder it would be if she wasn't the female lead. What if she was like the 10th girl he met and he was awestruck? And then you find out that this 10th girl exactly resembles a witch who's one-sidedly obsessed with him and granted him incredible powers. It seems kind of obvious now that there has to be another reason at play, doesn't it? But by presenting her as the female lead and love interest in an isekai, trope blinders kick in. We recall our experience with countless trash fantasy anime which throw the female lead at the main character chest first. And the author does his hardest to make sure the blinders are there. What are Subaru's first words when he's taken to Lagunica? Whoa, this is one of those situations where I've been taken to another world. Where's the female lead?
This is a different world summons, right? Where's my main character set up in status bar? Where's the cute girl who brought me here?
He's literally reminding you of generic isekai and priming you to expect the cute female lead to make sure that you don't think too hard about it. The same blinders are there when Rem confesses her love to him. Subaru spends significantly more time with Rem. He clearly cares deeply for her. The arguably darkest moments of his journey up to that point involve the ways she's killed in front of him. He's also obviously romantically interested in her, at least a little. Right before her big speech in Arc 3, he suggests that the two of them run away together and start a new life, because the challenge for this arc is too difficult. There are actually side story light novels which explore this alternative reality, and in them, they have kids, and she grows out her hair. More evidence for the long-haired hypothesis. And yet, when she tells Subaru the depth of her feelings for him, a perfect love confession interrupted by zero anime fireworks, he turns her down immediately.
Emilia is the one I love.
What the fuck is this world?
Why were people mad at this? It's funny, I personally don't have any particular fondness for Rem over Emilia. I'm pretty sure my only reaction when she got rejected was,
"That's rough, buddy."
And yet, when I wrote out the recap script for that part, by the end I was like, this fucking jackass. To put it simply, we understand why Rem feels this way. It's the culmination of a genuine connection that she and Subaru have, one that the audience has experienced firsthand throughout the story. We've seen Rem's backstory. We've seen Subaru become a hero in her eyes. We've seen her squeeze the last drops of life out of her own mangled corpse to save him. What's Emilia been doing this whole time? Doing morning aerobics? Still looking for that fucking badge? I hate to be the one to break this to you. Long hair or not, Emilia's more a MacGuffin than a real character until Arc 4. I'm sorry.
Why you boring me? I'm right.
Meanwhile, Rem is effectively the female lead for all of Arc 3 and most of Arc 2. There's no reason why Subaru should care about Emilia more than Rem. Why the hell did he reject her? Is the author stupid? But I want you to now remove the trope blinders caused by your years of seeing lopsided love triangles, harems with a clear female lead, and other stories that string along unrequited love interests just to squeeze drama and figurine sales out of the viewers. The author spends 2 full arcs building a deep, meaningful relationship between Subaru and Rem, only to unceremoniously kick you out of a moving car the moment you care. This isn't bad writing. You're supposed to think it's baffling that Subaru chooses Emilia over Rem. The author is practically begging for us to look at that more critically, but you were all so busy rage-buying Rem body pillows and commissioning art of her that you forgot to commission your brain to reflect on why that might be. It's because you're right. He shouldn't be in love with Emilia. He's not in love with Emilia. He's in love with Satella. Okay, I've been dancing around this long enough. Subaru instantly falls for a Satella lookalike, and a season later we learn that Satella loves him and acts like they've known each other for a long time. When we look at the story through this new context, a theory falls onto our lap. Subaru was once in love with Satella, but he forgot. To be more precise, there is a past in which Subaru knew Satella intimately, loved her, enough that her obsessive fixation on him throughout the series, and namely Arc 4, feels understandable, and those memories were erased or otherwise blocked from his conscious mind before we see him in Lagunica in Episode 1, but not perfectly erased. Does that make sense though? And how do we explain it? Well, remember all those pins we placed? Let's re-examine them using this new perspective and see if everything fits. So, during his first hours in this unfamiliar world, he lays his eyes upon someone who looks identical to Satella. His subconscious mind evokes feelings of familiarity, nostalgia, warmth, the same way that if you encounter the scent of your partner's perfume in the wild, it makes your heart lurch just a little. For those who are aromantic, replace perfume with your favorite baked good. How would his conscious mind interpret this flood of emotion? Love. At first sight.
Let's flip it.
Isn't that a far more satisfying explanation than Subaru being in love with her because she was nice to him first and his anime-addled brain liked her elf ears? Let's look back on Subaru turning down Rem after her love confession. It's no longer just a moment of betrayal against the 2016 waifu of the year. It tells you that something is clearly not normal about his feelings towards Emilia. For some fucked reason in his mind, he loves her. Only her. Where did I hear that before?
I have loved you. Only you.
And once you realize his feelings were originally for Satella, the scene becomes a moment of storytelling that shows us how deep his connection with her must have been. It's literally show don't tell, but at a macro meta trope genre level. By the way, if the color is changing slightly through this part of the video, it's not because it's partly cloudy. There's something wrong with your monitor. His past with Satella might not be something he can recall consciously, but deep in his psyche, or his soul, or his balls, he has an entire wealth of history between the two of them. History spanning many years maybe, before some corrupting influence made her go goblin mode and kill all the other witches. I'm not Gen Alpha. Am I using that phrase right? Goblin mode? I feel like I'm not. If you see that as true in some form, then his time with Rem, as captivating as it may be to you and I, is nothing in comparison. Even though we don't know the exact backstory between Subaru and Satella, it's obviously significant enough that she's deeply in love with him, trusts him with the task of killing her, and when he sees her at the witch's tea party, he goes from hating her to vowing to save her in like 20 minutes. My man is speedrunning the enemies to lovers trope. Now, I can hear the comment you're typing because you're using a mechanical keyboard with Cherry MX Blue switches. If Subaru's memories are erased or blocked, why would his subconscious retain anything? Why wouldn't it also be perfectly blocked? Well, first of all, your roommate hates you. Get a quieter keyboard. Second of all, let's take a look at the source material. There's at least 2 different beings in ReZero that can erase someone from people's memories. The White Whale and the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony. Incredibly, both of these happen to Rem. And yet, even when What's-Her-Name is erased entirely by Gluttony, Ram, her sister, still has inklings of memories that involve her. She remembers parts of the fight in Arc 2 with Subaru and Rem that conflict with her new, modified memories.
What you were saying earlier, when you told Garfield that you'd throw me as a decoy, it's as if that had actually happened before somehow.
And when Subaru brings her to Rem, she says she can immediately tell that the two of them are related.
I could sense that the same blood flowing through my veins flows through hers too.
I assume she means this in an ethereal, magical sense, and not just in a she looks exactly like me with blue hair sense. The sixth senses. So we know that this memory erasing magic isn't perfect. And this is just with Ram. Subaru's memories aren't affected at all when Rem is erased. Although it's not clear why he's exempt from the effect of the White Whale and Gluttony's abilities, it tells us that if anyone's memories might not be perfectly erased, it'd be him. Even if Satella no longer existed in his mind at all, I doubt the magic is perfect enough to erase every single time a half-elf's ears encased in silver hair gave him butterflies. Long hair, of course, because the hypothesis. Don't be ridiculous. And we know at least some of Subaru's memories have been erased. Echidna, the Witch of Greed, tells him that he's already under a contract, which he knows nothing about. I haven't read Arc 6, but unless it's titled The Witch's Guide for Roofing Someone into a Contract, we can be confident that forming one requires explicit consent from both parties. Satella, the Witch of Consent! If he doesn't know about it, it's because he doesn't remember it. Now, when was a time he could have made this contract, or experienced any of this backstory with her? Well, how about episode 1? Remember how Subaru all of a sudden just finds himself in Lagunica? No dying, no call to action, no bizarrely placed shot of Aqua bending over, no nothing. He's just suddenly there. You know what would explain this sudden strange shifting between worlds? Having your memories erased. The King Crimson thing I said wasn't a joke. That's why there's such an abrupt cut. We're literally missing a scene.
Yes, my eyes are tired. The world, it's not working the way it should.
And yes, I do mean abrupt. The anime dresses it up a little bit, but the original light novel confirms that it happens in the blink of an eye. I'm not going to say exactly what happened in this missing scene yet. I'll save speculation for the next part, but I'm calling it right now. When the series finally explains why Subaru got isekai'd, it will reveal that something happened between these two moments. Something that was erased from his memory afterwards. If there's any hypothesis in this video that I don't think other ReZero theories have explored, it's this instantaneous move between worlds. There is something missing, whether it's just him forming a contract or an entire zeroth loop that was wiped from his memory. Side note, Subaru says this in Season 3.
If a little kid jumped out into the street at a red light, I'd make sure they got back to the sidewalk without thinking twice.
Now, this could just be ReZero's classic, sorta clunky dialogue, but it feels suspiciously on the nose that Subaru said he would absolutely do the exact thing that basically every isekai protagonist does to kick off the story. But that feels like we're starting to tread into speculation waters. In that case, let's do it properly. By the way, the music you're hearing in the background is a version of music that I've written for the series, but aside from a character theme for Satella, none of it is available. Sure, I could have a whole ReZero album ready to plug, but Synergy is for cowards. Everything up until now I've been able to say with a high degree of confidence, especially the part about Emilia being a MacGuffin until Arc 4. From here onwards, I'll be pitching the explanation that best fills in the details based on my understanding of the story up to Arc 5. I readily accept that anything I say in this part might be wrong or directly contradicted in an arc I haven't seen yet. This isn't the important part of the video. It was when I was dispelling isekai tropes to recontextualize the story 10 minutes ago. So if you get mad at this section, once again, text your mom about it. She'll be more impressed than me. Anyway, it's time for time travel fuckery.
I've come from approximately 5 hours in the future.
You what? Is that the first half of the pickup line?
So it's pretty clear that no matter what explanation we provide, it's going to require time travel fuckery. Want even more evidence? I got it. In the light novel version of The Witch's Tea Party, Satella explains why she loves Subaru in more detail. Specifically, she says that he kissed her when she felt lonely, and he held her hand when she trembled on lonely nights. Subaru has no idea what she's talking about. Then, in the next 2 episodes, he's asked by Emilia to hold her hand while she sleeps because she feels lonely, and he kisses her for the first time after a heated argument about how she feels alone and undeserving of love.
Please, just hold my hand. And would you mind staying here until morning?
Either this is the mother of all red herrings or there's time travel fuckery involved. And everyone gets nervous when time travel fuckery is introduced into a story. Remember what it did to Attack on Titan? Those were dark days. I told my friend this and he said, well, it could be a multiverse with different versions of characters being pulled in and out of the reality that we see.
Okay, but that's worse. I mean, you do get how that's worse, right?
So let's just stick with regular time travel. I was stuck on this for a little while, just worried that the author was going to throw some magic in and fuck up the timeline and make things too confusing. Then you see the end result where Satella is somehow the same as Emilia, and you're like, yeah, I guess that how does King Crimson work? But in this scenario, I'm not sure if the author successfully distracted me or if I'm just dumb. Probably both. Because there's already a time travel mechanic in ReZero, one that introduces no new problems. Return by death. Is there a way we can use that as our only source of timeline bending? First of all, if Satella granted Subaru this power, it stands to reason that she could use it herself. It also explains why she seemed to be unkillable during the Great Calamity 400 years ago, why she had to be sealed away instead. She may even be capable of a stronger version of it. What would make it more powerful? For example, being able to choose the moment you jump back to. Being able to take other people with you, as in both your consciousness and theirs get sent back. Or maybe sending your entire self back, instead of just your memories. Obviously this would need to be before you actually die, or you've just created a glorified corpse delivery service. These don't all need to be true. Even just standard return by death used by Satella would explain why she has memories of things that are going to happen. You know, when she tells Subaru at the tea party, remember that time you did all that stuff for me you're about to do in 3 episodes? And he's like, no? Mom, come pick me up. But accepting that there could be a more powerful version of this ability would let us solve the biggest gaps in the timeline without pulling an Attack on Titan. So that leads us to probably the biggest question in the entire series. Are Satella and Emilia the same? And the answer is, they could be.
That's it.
That's it.
I don't mean I'm not sure. I mean, it depends on what Subaru does. To be clear, I think Satella is Emilia in at least some sense, whether Emilia turns into Satella or they used to be one being that was split apart. Any other answer feels like a cop-out. What, she's just a similar looking person? It's her sister or her mom? She's a shapeshifter who just loves how Emilia does her hair? Those are such easy explanations that they don't warrant the 12-arc mystery that the author is building. You don't need a decade to reveal that Emilia's mom is a witch that went crazy. It'd be like if the One Piece treasure, after 1,000 chapters, was just regular pirate treasure, except this is even worse because ReZero isn't boring. So unless there's a hidden third option I haven't considered, which is possible, the big mystery isn't even are Satella and Emilia the same, it's how are Satella and Emilia the same? That seems like something you could spend 12 arcs building the pieces to explain. Here's what I think. There is a loop 0, a whole timeline before the alleged first one that we see. Subaru was brought to Lugunica, possibly with a whole intro and orientation because, according to the light novels, he's a sage candidate, whatever that means. There, he met Emilia and they fell in love organically, over time. We don't really know what happens in this version, aside from Emilia following roughly the path she's following the first few arcs. She's in the royal selection to be a queen, she was raised by Mother Fortuna, and so on. However, something happened that corrupted Emilia, something similar to the witch factor insanity that broke Beetlejuice and made him go goblin mode. I changed my mind, I don't care if I'm using it wrong. This is probably the same power that gives Return by Death, like how Beetlejuice's factor gave him the invisible hands. It's the Witch of Envy's factor. It also gives her a snazzy new choker.
It looked like she went to Claire's boutique, fell on a sale rack, and said, "I'll take it."
Maybe she starts to lose control, Mad Queen style, laying waste to her dominion and the people there. Here's a clip from the third trial, the one that shows potential futures.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Since the day we met, I've done nothing but despise you. I can't bear it.
I hate you.
That looks a lot like the situation I just described, doesn't it? Then, in a brief moment of lucidity, she asks Subaru to kill her before she does even more damage. But Subaru loves her. He wants to save her. He believes there can be a better outcome to this. He thinks her new choker is tacky. Still better than Buffy's choker from that one episode. To do this, she and him make a contract. The first contract he's a part of. The one that Echidna told him about and he can't remember. The one that gives him Return by Death. She's barely holding on to the last shreds of her sanity as this happens. With that, she uses Return by Death to go back, wiping his memory. The first moment that Subaru now consciously remembers since being isekai'd becomes that moment in episode 1 when he first pops into Lagunica, hence the lack of transition. His purpose is to use Return by Death to change the bad future that leads Emilia and everyone else into ruin. And, like I said before, he keeps some subconscious sense of that timeline, even though his conscious memories have been erased. He sees Emilia, and that time, he falls for her immediately. When Satella says, "You have to keep your promise to kill me," she means, stop me from coming into existence. That way, kill her and save her are the same goal. By the way, this is more or less the narrative I had in mind when I wrote the Satella character theme on my music channel. Another thing to delete if I'm wrong! Okay, but why doesn't Emilia get all these memories? Why is there a distinct Satella entity? Here's two potential reasons. In that future, she may look like Emilia, but she's become the Witch of Envy. Her mind or memories no longer map onto the past version of Emilia. They'd map onto the past Witch of Envy. Alternatively, she just sends her entire self back, thus creating a Witch of Envy which is now canonical through the entire timeline. Both of these require an enhanced version of Return by Death. The second one might as well be called Return by... I don't want to be here.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
She herself goes back 400 years, just in time for her to go berserk and cause the great calamity we hear about in Arc 1, the one that destroys half the world. Why 400 years? Well, maybe she can't control the fixed point any more than Subaru can. Maybe that's where the original Satella gets her powers. Maybe we're already 4 layers deep in hypotheticals, and there's like 10 different things that the author could write in the next few arcs that would make it fit. Is that a cop-out? You decide. To balance the scales, though, I'll give a bit more evidence that Satella is influenced by Return by Death. Think back to the Witch's Tea Party one more time. Subaru asks her, point blank, "What do you want from me? Why did you choose me to have Return by Death? What the fuck is going on with any of this?" But she doesn't give any straight answers. They're all vague and unhelpful.
Who else would have done the things that I've done?
Please, you mustn't look so sad.
You have the nerve.
You need to love yourself more.
Are you serious? You're the one who gave me the ability to return by death!
I love you. That's why. It's the very reason I want you to love and protect yourself.
You're someone I can't understand.
It's almost like she can't give answers. The same way that when anyone asks Subaru why he knows something, or why they should listen to him, he can't tell them the real reason either. Return by Death is stopping both of them. Maybe she feels Subaru's hands caressing her heart whenever she tries. Instead of evil witch fingers, his soul is just doing Kazuma hands. This is actually another trope blinder example, come to think of it. How many mysteries do you know where a character that knows a lot gives nothing but vague, useless answers, or dodges a question until it just happens to be the season finale? Half of the dialogue from Lost and From basically consists of this cryptic conversation trope, and it's exhausting. So we're primed to expect such a mysterious character like Satella to give cryptic answers to Subaru's questions. Why should we get so many answers so soon? But if I'm right, there's an actual in-universe explanation. It's hard to know exactly where to draw the line when it comes to doing these best effort guesses. You know, what constitutes a reasonable theory versus glorified fanfiction. I think I'm gonna stop here before I start saying even less substantiated ideas that the light novel readers are sure to eviscerate me on. Either way, all of this basically satiates my biggest questions regarding Subaru, Satella, and Emilia, so I texted the author to let him know that we figured it out. All right, we talked about ReZero, trope blinders, plot twists. We even went over the long-haired hypothesis. I think we covered a lot of ground. I would say that my theory and explanation is pretty comprehensive, aside from maybe a few leftover questions. But no matter how canonical this all is or isn't, what we've discussed still has value when it comes to media literacy and writing. If there's a series with big mysteries that you like, this can give you new approaches to tackle those mysteries. You can even eliminate whole theories whose complexities don't match the time the show has spent building them.
The goats are the board.
It's possible.
I'm debunking it. I'm debunking it.
If you're a writer, use trope blinders to completely smack your audience in the face with a twist that they should have seen coming. If they didn't want to get stumped, they should have watched this video. Quite honestly, I'm not super worried that the way ReZero unfolds ends up not aligning with this video. I mean, I've never been wrong before, but you're supposed to try new things. What I am worried about is an answer that doesn't give an in-universe explanation for stuff like Subaru choosing Emilia over Rem. What if the tropes that I've been talking about, that people have been complaining about, might just be pockets of shoddy writing in an otherwise well-crafted story? Part of me fears, viscerally, that in like 6 years in the middle of Arc 10, we get some mundane explanation for why Subaru loves Emilia so intensely. We learn that the strange transition between the two worlds doesn't mean anything, and that Satella just likes guys with car names. This entire video just becomes a guy overthinking some cliches an author did. Clever explanations for a story that doesn't want them. What do I do then? Delete the video? Write a fanfic to make it valid? A fanfix, if you will? I guess someone's got to get started on the Extended Universe. Chapter 1. In regards to what?
Hello, this is Riley with Verizon Fios Technical Support. May I please have your name and account number?
Hi, Riley. My name is Adam. My account number is 800-813-56.
Thank you. One moment while I pull up your records. There we go. Hello, Adam. How may I assist you today?
Hi, so I'm calling to see if my internet actually doesn't work or if it's just a bit I'm doing.
Well, I'd be more than happy to help you with that.